So the question is, I was training barefoot in the video, and I did the whole session barefoot. And the question was, why was I training barefoot? Basically, was the question. And for me, the answer to that is, if you haven't ever trained barefoot and you've never tried it, do it for one session. Obviously, don't do it for something that requires you to be strapped into a rower, or do it for something that any sort of lifting. Any deadlifts or pulls from the floor are a really good place to start with it, because it's super easy. You just lose the shoes. Doesn't really make that much of a difference. But in terms of the movement, so yeah, if you haven't ever tried lifting without any shoes on, going barefoot, then absolutely try it, and you will feel a tremendous difference in how connected you feel to the floor, and sort of how much more your feet, and you will feel tremendous difference compared to wearing your shoes. You feel so much more connected with the ground. Your feet have to work so much harder to create that arch in your feet and create a solid base for you to drive out of. So yeah, that's pretty much. And I think when you wear trainers all the time to train, which for the most part we all do, we never think about going barefoot. So when you do wear trainers for training all the time, your feet sort of get used to not having to do that work and not having to do any stabilizing work, which I get it quite a lot, but some of you listening may well get it the same. If you do a lot of box jumps or a lot of double unders, you get that cramping feeling in your feet, and the reason that is, a lot of it is because of the jumping, and there's a lot of stress going through your feet as you jump, but a lot of it is because your feet are having to work hard, because they're not used to them working, to having to stabilize your feet and having to stabilize your ankles and working from the bottom up, usually, because you're always in trainers, so they're, for the most part, always relaxed and turned off. Whereas when you then have to do high volume of double unders, or high volume of box jumps or box jump overs, things like that, they have to work really, really hard, because you're putting a lot of pressure through the feet as you jump, and you're doing it for a high volume, that then you start to get that cramping feeling in the arches of your feet. So this, if you do then train barefoot, you get somewhat of a similar sensation, because your feet have to work really, really hard to sort of grip the ground and work really hard to create that arch, because obviously they've got no support from what you'd usually have as a shoe. So they've got to work really hard to grip the ground, and you get that sort of same feeling in the arch. And I think testing it out, and for me testing it out and to see what it was like, was sort of a real eye-opener into how your feet give you that real base of support, and they give you that connection to the ground. When you take your shoes off and you get that connection to the ground, it does make you feel much more stable. You grip the ground hard with your toes. That gives you a solid base. That sets your knees, that sets your hips, sets your shoulders, and then you'll grow all from the ground up, which is the only thing I can say to describe it is, for you, it's difficult to describe the feeling, but try it for yourself. So if you are doing, if you've got deadlifts in your next session coming up, or if you are doing any sort of pressing, or whether you're doing like accessory work, RDLs, good mornings, any lower body stuff, go barefoot. Test it out, go barefoot, and see how it feels. You will feel a tremendous, tremendous difference to compared to normally training in shoes.